fear of rejection. I think that fear of rejection is to the brain the same as the fear of death. It is as if we are being ostracized from the tribe. For a man, it may feel like your mother is angry with you and she's not going to feed you from the boob anymore, and you're an infant. And so you equate this feeling of rejection as equivalent to death. Of course, we know rationally that's not the case. There are many fish in the sea and all that, but in the moment, it's hard for the animal body to deal with that. It's hard for us to see past the anguish of just having something torn away. And worse than that, at a soul level, you've been essentially attempting to intertwine with somebody else, to build partnership, to build an energetic oneness with this person. And so to have that torn away suddenly is literally like your heart breaking in half. There's even some neurological studies that show that sort of, it's like physically, there's like a neurological breach in your heart. Like all the neurons in your heart are like panicking, or part of them are shut off. It's like, simulates the actual feeling that we say of heartbreak. But unlike broken bones, which may leave lasting scars and, pain, relational heartbreak kind of expands your heart. It opens you a little bit wider. And so by loving and losing, you have not failed. You have succeeded in growing. You now have the very difficult process of the healing phase, which nobody envies you for that. But the healing itself will grow you wiser and stronger. And that's the real genius of this. Heartbreak is the opening of who you are. Relationship isn't really about the relationship. It's about individual development through relationship. We don't want to see that, we don't want to accept that, but that's really the beauty of it. We can find ourselves better through the dynamics of relationship. A lot of the pain too of a breakup is who's rejecting who and why, right? There's all these little triggers, little fears around, well, is there something wrong with me? Am I doomed to be left? Am I not worthy? Am I pathetic? Did I do the wrong thing? Those things are relevant questions in a very young relationship that hasn't had any sort of, building of foundation. And they're also relevant in relationships with people who are extremely spontaneous and weren't really trying to build anything with you anyway, or just people who are very impulsive. Yeah, you're going to be afraid of those things. But for a mature relationship, those little individual things aren't going to matter. They're not going to throw you away for some little thing you said or did. They're going to only throw you away if they can't live with you. If the objective of partnership is just untenable to them. And that means a confluence of many different issues, showing them that it's like, this isn't going to work. It's just too much. It's too difficult, too painful, whatever. And so if you can talk it out with somebody without being in this state of self-preservation of like fear of death, you may come to the same conclusion that they are coming to, that you're not really that compatible. There may have been beautiful things in your relationship, connections that were better than any other that you've had, profound love and connection that is rich and unique. And things that, memories that you've shared that will never be replaced, that will always just burn within you as bright moments in your life. And all of that is fair. But practically speaking, if the relationship isn't tenable, if it's not going anywhere, then you owe it to yourself to have this conversation too, whether this is worth saving. Emotionally, you're just going, no, I want it so bad. Like you gotta rise above that in order to think about, is this sustainable? Is this really workable? Not, can I change myself to make it fit? Because that's not gonna work. You can't. You literally can't change yourself to make it work. Human beings don't change much. After the age of 20 or 25, you're through with most major changes. You can change a few beliefs, but your core characters isn't going to be that different typically. You also don't want to try to bend yourself out of shape for someone else, because eventually you will snap back, and that will have been your deception then, to try to convince this partner that the relationship was tenable when it wasn't. So it's better to get the pain out of the way now, confront it right away, go right to the heart of it, and acknowledge, yeah, this is hard, or this is too hard. And say that, this isn't exactly what I'm looking for. If it's not exactly what you're looking for, then it's time to move on, typically. And at least you want the other person to know that. So, heartbreak, I strongly recommend Letters to a Young Poet by Maria Rilke. Some really profound words on dealing with heartbreak. I've got a website called heartbreak.love. I haven't completed it yet, but it's going to be about 4 different paths to healing the heart. Typological, archetypal pathways to healing, depending if you're a thinking type or a feeling type or a sensate or an intuitive, different ways to begin the healing of the broken heart. And to not just heal it like limping away, but to grow from the experience, to really cherish what you've got from it. Because that's, I think, what's often missing in a breakup. We have this identity protective cognition go off, and we're like, oh my God, I'm being rejected, I'm being attacked, my status is being damaged. Screw that person wasn't worthy of me. And it's this incredibly, vicious warrior energy comes up, and it's not doing any good. It's not doing you any good or anyone. And it more so creates tragic traumas that are then not healed. And things that you may not have liked about yourself that the partner was pointing out, you may ignore now because you don't want them to be right about anything, even if they were. So we have to get humble during these times. We probably need to cry. In some way, we need to grieve. Grieving is healing. Grieving is part of the healing process. If you do nothing but grieve, you will eventually get through the process, because you get tired of grieving eventually, and you sort of let everything out, all the pain you've sort of filtered out, and then you feel a little numb, but you definitely feel like ready to begin something new. And that's the key. That's the key here to heartbreak. So love be with you, and cherish this moment, as painful as it may be.